had always believed her life was ordinary. She worked in a small library, spent her evenings reading old books, and shared quiet dinners with her human mate. Their life was calm, predictable, and comforting in its simplicity. Yet in the back of her mind, a small part of her longed for something extraordinary, something that would break the rhythm of ordinary days. She never imagined that extraordinary would arrive in the form of a massive alien ship hovering above her city, its hull glowing with shifting colors that seemed impossible to describe, vibrating with an energy that made the air itself hum. Stood frozen on the balcony, her heart hammering as she watched the ship slowly descend. The entire city seemed to hold its breath. She could see the reflections of its lights in his eyes when he joined her, his hand brushing hers instinctively, both comforting and grounding. Before they could even speak, a section of the ship opened and a figure stepped through. It was enormous, taller than any human, with limbs armored in sleek metal plates and eyes that shimmered like molten silver. The presence it exuded was overwhelming, a mixture of authority, power, and something that could not put into words. It was alien in every way, and yet somehow it seemed to pierce directly into her soul. The figure raised a hand, and without a word the air around them seemed to bend slightly, as if acknowledging its command. Instinctively stepped closer to, clutching his arm. "I am General," the alien announced in a voice that rumbled like distant thunder yet was strangely precise. "I have come for your mate." His heart dropped. The words were simple, but their meaning twisted inside her chest. "Test your mate," she whispered, her voice trembling. The general's eyes, cold, calculating, yet curious, fixed on and felt a shiver run through her entire body. She wanted to speak, to argue, to shield, but no words came. Did not wait for answers. With a subtle gesture, the room around them transformed. Walls shimmered and shifted into translucent screens showing alien landscapes she could not recognize. Mountains floated in the sky, rivers glowed with light, and creatures moved with forms that human logic blinked, overwhelmed. This was not her apartment anymore. It was a world beyond comprehension, a place designed for trials, and she realized with a sinking feeling that was at the center of it. "Your human mate," continued, "will be tested to determine the strength of his species. Only then will I decide if he is worthy." The words were clinical, void of malice but heavy with threat. Grip's hand, feeling his warmth, his steady pulse against her own racing heart. She whispered, fear and hope mixing, "Please be careful. I can't lose you." Looked at her, eyes filled with a quiet determination that made his throat tight. "I'll be fine," he said softly. "I've got you with me. That's enough to keep me strong." The sincerity in his voice was like a shield around her heart, and yet it did little to erase the fear gnawing at her from the edges. She realized that courage was not just about facing danger. It was about standing up when the world was impossible, when the rules themselves were alien, and when the outcome was unknown. The general studied them both, tilting his head slightly, as if intrigued by the human bond between them. Noticed something subtle in that gaze, a mix of calculation and curiosity, almost admiration. Perhaps it was unfamiliar to him, the strength born of love and trust rather than sheer power. His heart swelled with pride and anxiety all at once. She knew that whatever this test was, it would push beyond every limit she had ever imagined. And yet deep inside, a small spark of hope flickered. If love could survive ordinary life, maybe it could survive this. Maybe it could even triumph in a way no alien could foresee. As the shimmering walls of the alien chamber settled around them, felt a chill crawl down her spine. The room no longer looked like her apartment. It had transformed into an impossible landscape, with floating platforms, glowing rivers, and skis that shifted colors with every heartbeat. The hum of energy was constant, vibrating through the floor and into her bones. She clung to his hand, finding strength in his calm presence even as fear clawed at her chest. General stepped forward, his towering form casting a long shadow over them. "This is the beginning of the trial," he said. His voice, deep and metallic, carried weight she could feel in her chest. "Your mate's humanity will be tested against challenges designed to measure courage, intelligence, and loyalty. Only then can his worth be determined." His heart raced at his words. She looked at, searching for a hint of fear, but all she saw was quiet resolve. drew a deep breath and nodded. "I'm ready," he said, and the confidence in his voice surprised. He had been an ordinary man, kind, gentle, a little hesitant in new situations. But now he stood tall, facing an alien of unimaginable power without flinching. Felt tears prick her eyes. This was the man she loved, standing up against something far beyond human comprehension, and yet he did not tremble. His eyes glimmered as if analyzing every microexpression, every heartbeat. "Then let the trial begin," he declared. With a gesture, the landscape around them shifted again, forming a vast battlefield. Shadows of massive alien creatures emerged from the glowing mist, their shapes shifting unnaturally, limbs bending in ways could not comprehend. They moved with speed and intent as if hunting. Stomach churned. She wanted to scream, to pull back, but she was trapped behind an invisible barrier that separated them. She could only watch. His first instinct was to run, but he didn't. Instead, he assessed the creatures, watching patterns, noticing weaknesses in their movements. He dodged the first lunge, rolled under a claw, and leaped onto a raised platform, using every ounce of human agility. His breath caught as she saw him maneuver, but he did not panic. His eyes were sharp, his mind calculating, yet flexible. It was not superhuman strength that saved him. It was human ingenuity, the ability to adapt and improvise in ways even had not predicted. As the creatures advanced, his focus never wavered. He moved with a rhythm had never seen before, combining instinct and clever strategy. He used debris, created diversions, and even anticipated the creature's next moves. Felt her chest tighten with a mix of fear and awe. She realized that courage wasn't the absence of fear, it was the decision to act despite it. His courage radiated in waves that even the alien general seemed to recognize, though his face remained stoic. Hours or maybe minutes, time felt strange past, and the battlefield dissolved into nothing. Stood in the center, breathing heavily but unbroken. Tears flowed freely as she realized he had faced unimaginable danger and had not faltered. Stepped closer, studying with narrowed eyes. "Impressive," the general said, a note of something almost like respect in his tone. "But the trials are far from over. The mind is a battlefield even harder than this one." Shivered at the thought. She had expected tests of strength, but she hadn't considered the mental and emotional challenges would face. Her heart ached for him. He had faced physical danger with courage, but now he would face illusions, fears, and memories designed to break him from within. Wished she could be there to hold him, to protect him, to share the burden. Yet she knew this trial was something only could endure and survive. As eyes flicked between and she understood the truth, this trial was not just about strength. It was about heart, and knew deep inside that's heart, human, fragile yet unyielding, was his greatest weapon. She held on to that thought even as fear whispered through her bones. The chamber shifted again, darker this time, shadows moving unnaturally. Inhaled deeply and stepped forward, ready to face the unknown. Fingers tightened around the invisible barrier, her own courage growing in sync with his. No matter what happened next, she knew one thing for certain. Would not face it alone, not in spirit, not in love. The battlefield faded, leaving only darkness, but could feel the tension in the air thickening. She and were still separated by the invisible barrier, and the hum of the chamber now felt sharper, almost menacing. Shivered, her fingers gripping the barrier as she watched its massive figure step forward. "Strength is one thing," the general said, voice echoing like a drum. "The mind is another. Let us see how your humanity endures here." The darkness around shifted. Shadows moved unnaturally, twisting into shapes that seemed almost familiar. Gasped as she saw his eyes widen slightly. It was subtle, but she noticed, the first hint of doubt flickering in his gaze. Then the illusions took shape. The room transformed into a corridor filled with images of past failures. Every mistake had ever made, moments of regret, awkwardness, and lost opportunities, hovered before him. Whispers filled the air, echoing insecurities he had buried long ago. Felt her heart tighten as she recognized the challenge. It was designed to weaken him from within, to make him question himself. Froze for a moment, staring at the shifting memories. could see the strain on his face, the way his jaw clenched, his hands trembling slightly. "You can't do it," a voice whispered, echoing from nowhere. "You'll fail. You always fail." Wanted to call out to him, to tell him he was stronger than these shadows, but the barrier made her silent. She could only watch, her heart aching. Then something remarkable happened. Took a deep breath and slowly his posture straightened. His eyes, once clouded with doubt, now shone with clarity. "I am not my fears," he said aloud, voice steady. "I am not my mistakes. I am what I choose to be." The shadows flickered, hesitated, and then began to dissolve like mist under sunlight. Felt a tear roll down her cheek, her heart swelling with pride and relief. He wasn't just surviving. He was confronting every part of himself that had ever doubted his worth. The general tilted his head, watching with an intensity that made the hairs on his neck stand on end. "Curious," murmured. "Humans are fragile, yet remarkably resilient. Strength is not always measured in force, but in persistence of the spirit." His chest swelled its courage. She realized that every human flaw, every insecurity, could be transformed into power if faced with honesty and resolve. Had turned his fears into weapons, wielding them with precision that no alien discipline could predict. The chamber shifted again, this time creating a maze that twisted and turned in impossible geometries. His eyes followed as he navigated it, relying not on sight alone but on instinct, memory, and the faint emotional tether he shared with her. The illusions tried to confuse him, create despair, and lure him into giving up, but his mind remained sharp. He spoke aloud occasionally, numbing each fear, each regret, facing them as if declaring victory over them one by one. His heart beat in sync with his. Though she was powerless to intervene, she felt an invisible force connecting them. Every step he took, every challenge he overcame, resonated with her own courage. She realized that human strength was not only in the individual, it was amplified by love, trust, and bonds that could transcend barriers, even alien ones. Finally reached the center of the maze. He stood tall, breathing heavily but unbroken. Shadows and illusions had vanished completely, leaving him alone, victorious and shining with a quiet brilliance that even the alien general could not deny. His chest ached with pride and awe. He had faced the trial of the mind and emerged not just intact, but stronger, wiser, and more unyielding than ever before. Stepped closer, lowering his towering form slightly. "Unexpected," he admitted, his deep voice tinged with respect. "Your humanity is more formidable than I anticipated, but the trial is not complete. There remains one test, one that will measure the bond between you. The final trial awaits." Shivered, knowing what was coming would be even more dangerous, more personal. But she also knew this, had proven already that human strength was more than muscle or intellect. It was heart, will, and the power to rise above impossible odds. And if the next trial was meant to break him, she believed with all her being that love would not let him fall. The chamber pulsed, preparing the next challenge. Inhaled deeply and whispered silently, "We are together always. You can do this." The chamber shifted once more, this time into a vast, open arena suspended in nothingness. Felt her stomach twist. Platforms floated above a glowing abyss, connected by narrow bridges that seemed impossible to cross. Sparks of energy crackled along the edges, warning of the danger below. The hum of the alien energy felt louder, vibrating through the invisible barrier that still separated her from. She could see him standing at the entrance of the arena, calm but alert, his chest rising and falling steadily despite the surreal danger. His booming voice filled the space. "The final trial is not of the body or mind alone. It is a test of heart, instinct, and connection. Protect what you love without seeing it. That is your challenge." His breath caught. She had expected trials of courage and thought, but this was something deeper. His face reflected the weight of the task, yet he did not hesitate. Realized that the general wanted to see if his humanity, the love, the instinct, the loyalty, could guide him when all other senses failed. Suddenly, platforms began to shift. Found herself on one of them, invisible too. Sparks flew from the edges, energy streams threatened to sweep her into the abyss, and the floor beneath her quivered. Fear surged in her chest. She wanted to scream to reach him, but the barrier prevented any contact. She called out, but the voice seemed muffled. Still, somewhere deep within, she trusted him. She had to. Moved forward, his eyes scanning the arena though he could not see her. He listened to her breathing, her faint movements, the rhythm of her heart carried in the psychic link that had formed between them over months. Step by careful step, he calculated each jump, each movement, guided not by sight, but by instinct and trust. His chest tightened with awe. He was human, yes, but every choice he made radiated brilliance, a combination of courage and intuition that no alien training could replicate. At one point, a massive energy wave surged towards platform, paused, crouched, and threw a small metallic fragment he had found earlier. It floated through the air in perfect trajectory, disrupting the wave and giving the chance to step safely to another platform. Gasped, realizing that had predicted danger she hadn't even seen. The human heart, unpredictable and adaptive, was guiding him. Time seemed to stretch. Each platform crossed was a heartbeat of tension, every narrow escape a pulse of fear and relief. Felt tears prick her eyes, not from despair but from overwhelming pride. She understood something profound. Strength was not in physical might alone. It was in his ability to connect, to feel, to act with unwavering love and intuition. It was human strength amplified by devotion. Finally, the last platform appeared, stable and illuminated with a soft, golden glow. Stepped onto it, trembling, exhausted, yet safe. Followed instinctively, his hands brushing hers even through the invisible barrier. She could feel the relief radiating from him as if his determination had become a shield around them both. The alien general stepped forward, towering and silent, his armored presence almost gentle now. Spoke, his voice lower than before, almost reverent. Your mate has endured every trial. Strength, mind, heart, all have been measured. Yet the most remarkable quality is not in his actions, but in the connection that binds him to you. Humans, your species, possess an unpredictability that defies logic. Your love, your courage, your instinct, it is formidable in ways few can understand. Swelled with emotion, she realized that the trials had not only tested, they had revealed the essence of humanity itself. Ordinary people, ordinary hearts, could achieve the extraordinary when driven by love, loyalty, and determination. She reached for him, holding his hand fully now, no barriers between them in spirit if not in space. His eyes met hers and they shared a quiet, wordless understanding. They had survived, grown, and transcended what even an alien general considered possible. Whispered softly, "You did it, you're amazing." Smiled, his voice steady, warm, and full of quiet triumph. We did it together. The arena dissolved around them, leaving only the lingering hum of his presence, and knew one truth more clearly than ever. Human courage and heart were forces even the stars could not ignore. The arena vanished, replaced by a corridor that seemed endless. Light flickered from the walls, casting long shadows that danced like living creatures. Felt a shiver of fear run down her spine. This final trial was different. It wasn't about strength, intelligence, or agility. It was about connection, the invisible bond between her and. His voice echoed around them, low and commanding. Now you will see whether your human mate's loyalty and love can guide him through the impossible. You are both tested, even if only one can move freely. Looked at, his face was calm, but she could sense the tension in his muscles, the deep concentration in his eyes. He did not yet know where she was, could not see her at all. All he had was trust, intuition, and their connection. Swallowed hard, fear twisting in her chest. She had never felt so powerless. Every instinct screamed at her to move, to scream, to guide him, but the barrier forbade it. She could only hope that the strength they shared would be enough. Suddenly, platforms appeared beneath her feet, suspended over a pit of pulsating energy. They shifted and tilted, threatening to hurl her into the abyss. Gasped, clutching the edges as sparks arced dangerously close. Moved immediately, guided by instinct. He leaped, spun, and reached her platform just in time, his hands brushing her shoulder even though the invisible barrier kept them apart. Felt a jolt of relief, mixed with wonder. He was moving as if he could sense her every heartbeat, every movement, every instinctive fear. The trial intensified. Obstacles appeared faster, more dangerous, and less predictable. Energy walls surged up from the floor, platforms crumbled beneath her, and illusions attempted to trick both of them into making mistakes. His heart pounded with every step. She realized the general was testing not only skill, but his ability to remain connected to her despite chaos. It was a challenge unlike anything she had ever imagined. His movements were extraordinary but not alien. He relied on the raw human gifts of perception, courage, and love. He adapted instantly, using his body and mind in tandem, reaching for at critical moments, predicting dangers before they appeared. Felt an overwhelming wave of emotion, pride, fear, relief, and admiration all mixed together. She wanted to speak, to tell him he was incredible, but the only words that escaped her were silent prayers, whispered into the invisible bond that connected them. At one point, a massive energy surge threatened to sweep off her platform entirely. Dove instinctively, grabbing her arm even through the barrier anchoring her. She felt the pressure of his presence, the unwavering force of his determination. The invisible bond became more than a link. It was a lifeline, a bridge between human courage and instinct. Realize then that it wasn't just strength that made extraordinary. It was his heart, his willingness to risk everything to protect her, to fight for her, to survive together. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the center of the corridor. The platforms aligned, the energy subsided, and the illusions vanished. Fell into arms, trembling, exhausted, yet overwhelmed with relief and love. The invisible barrier dissipated, and she could finally touch him fully, feel his heartbeat against her own. He looked down at her, sweat glistening on his forehead, but his eyes were bright, alive with triumph. "We did it," he said softly. "Together." His towering form appeared before them, quieter than ever, yet undeniably imposing. "I have observed what I did not expect," the general said, his voice almost thoughtful. "Human bonds, loyalty, love, it is a power that surpasses logic, defies prediction, and endures beyond any test. Your mate has proven the strength of his species is not only in skill or intellect, but in heart. He is remarkable." His chest swelled with pride, tears slipping down her cheeks. She hugged tightly, feeling the extraordinary truth of the words in every fiber of her being. Humans, she realized, were underestimated because their strength was not always visible, but it was there, quiet, persistent, and unstoppable when driven by love, and had shown it fully, brilliantly, in the face of trials that no alien could have predicted. For the first time, felt a profound sense of awe not just for, but for the human spirit itself. It was unpredictable, resilient, and extraordinary. And in that moment, suspended in a world that had tested every limit of mind, body, and heart, knew that their bond was more than a connection. It was a force that could endure anything, even the judgment of a star fleet general. The chamber faded, leaving and standing together on solid ground. The glow of the alien energy dimmed, and for the first time since this ordeal began, they could see each other without barriers, without illusions, without danger. Exhaled shakily, her heart still racing as she looked at. His chest rose and fell rapidly, sweat dampening his hair, yet his eyes shone with quiet triumph. He had faced the impossible and emerged whole. General stepped forward, his massive frame casting a shadow over them. But this time there was no menace in his stance. Instead, his presence seemed almost reflective, contemplative. He studied with an intensity that found both intimidating and curious. "Your mate has endured every test," began, his voice deep but calm, echoing in the silent chamber. "He has faced challenges designed to destroy strength, mind, and spirit. And yet," he paused, tilting his head, "he has succeeded. Not by the methods I anticipated, but by the force of his heart." His chest swelled at his words. She realized that the general's recognition was not only of his abilities, but of what it meant to be human. Humans were not the strongest, the fastest, or the most disciplined, but they were unpredictable, adaptive, and driven by emotions that could surpass logic. Had seen it in throughout the trials, the way he had faced shadows of fear, navigated impossible platforms, and reached for her when she had been invisible to him. Every moment had proven that his humanity was his greatest weapon. His gaze shifted to Your mate's loyalty, love, and intuition, they are extraordinary. Such traits are rare even among my species. They define humans, yet even I had not fully understood their depth until now. Felt tears prick her eyes. She had always known was brave and kind, but hearing it acknowledged by a being so powerful, so alien, gave her a sense of wonder she could hardly describe. Stepped closer to her, his hand brushing hers. "We made it," he whispered, voice soft but steady, nodded, pressing her forehead to his chest. "We did it together," she replied. In that simple affirmation she felt the trials, the fear, and the uncertainty dissolve. Love had guided them through every step, every challenge, every impossible moment. Straightened, his massive frame glowing faintly under the chamber's energy. "Humans are often underestimated," he continued. "Their power lies not in raw force, nor in perfect intellect, but in the persistence of their spirit, in bonds that endure beyond reason. Your species may be fragile, but your hearts," he paused, looking at with a rare note of respect. "Your hearts are formidable." Exhaled, overwhelmed by the weight of his words. She looked at, realizing that the trials had not only tested him, they had revealed what humans could truly be when pushed to the edge. It wasn't just his strength, courage, or intelligence that had mattered. It was his capacity to love, to trust, and to rise for another person that had defined his victory. For the first time, felt the enormity of what had happened. The general, a being of immense power and intellect, had recognized the human spirit as something extraordinary. It was a validation not just of bravery, but of the very essence of humanity itself. His heart overflowed with pride, hope, and awe. Gave a final nod. "The trials are complete. Your mate has passed in a manner I had not expected. He has redefined my understanding of strength." The chamber shimmered one last time, signaling the end. Wrapped her arms around, holding him tightly. The trials, the fear, and the tension melted into relief and gratitude. Whispered in her ear, "We're stronger than I ever imagined." Smiled, tears streaming freely. "Stronger together," she replied. The words echoed softly in the chamber, a testament to what they had survived, what they had proven, and what they had discovered about the power of the human heart. As began to depart, his massive figure slowly disappearing into the light, realized something profound. Humans, with their fragile bodies and imperfect minds, carried a force that could challenge even the greatest of civilizations. And her mate had shown her, and the universe, exactly what that force could achieve. The alien chamber dissolved into nothingness, leaving and standing on familiar, solid ground once again. The sky above shimmered softly, golden and calm, as if the universe itself exhaled after their ordeal. Held's hand tightly, feeling the warmth and strength that had carried them through trials no human, or alien, could have predicted. Her chest swelled with a mixture of relief, pride, and awe. She realized that their lives, once ordinary, had been forever transformed. Looked down at her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. His eyes, still shining with adrenaline and triumph, held a quiet wonder. "I didn't know we could survive all of that," he whispered, voice low but full of emotion. Smiled softly, tears threatening to spill. "We didn't just survive," she said, her voice trembling with feeling. "We proved something, something bigger than any test, bigger than even could understand." She remembered the alien general's words, the way he had acknowledged his courage, intellect, and most importantly, his heart. Humans were underestimated, he had said, because their strength was invisible in conventional ways, but now understood the truth clearly. Human strength was not in muscles, not in weapons, not even in clever strategies alone. It was in love, in loyalty, in courage that persisted even when hope seemed impossible, had embodied all of it. They walked slowly through the empty city streets, the glow of the fatting alien energy reflecting in puddles on the ground. The city seemed unchanged, yet everything felt different. Glanced at and realized she had never seen him so fully, so completely alive. The trials had tested his limits, but they had also revealed the extraordinary within the ordinary. The man she loved, her gentle, kind human, was extraordinary beyond measure. "I think underestimated us," said quietly, a small, amused smile tugging at his lips. laughed softly, the sound fragile but full of warmth. Underestimated. He didn't even begin to understand what humans are capable of, and he never will. Her words were not prideful or boastful. They were simple, true, and filled with deep emotion. Humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and bound by connections that transcended logic. Had shown her, and now even the universe, that these qualities were powerful. They stopped near a quiet park, the evening sun painting everything gold. Leaned into, resting her head on his shoulder. The events of the past hours or days, time felt strange, rushed through her mind. The terrifying shadows, the floating platforms, the invisible barriers, and the relentless challenges. And through it all, had moved forward with unwavering courage and love. He had faced the impossible not because he was unafraid, but because he refused to let fear control him. His heart swelled with awe. Wrapped his arms around her, holding her close. "We're different now," he said softly, "stronger somehow." Nodded. "Yes," she whispered, feeling the truth in her bones. "Not just you or me, us. Together." They stood in silence, the world around them peaceful, yet alive with a sense of endless possibility. And understood something even more profound. In a universe filled with powerful beings, vast empires, and unimaginable technology, it was the human heart that could change everything. The heart that loved, the mind that adapted, and the courage that persisted could defy expectations, rewrite rules, and even impress a being like. She pressed a kiss to his forehead, her voice barely audible. "We are extraordinary, just by being human." Smiled, leaning his forehead against hers. "Then let's live that," he said simply. Nodded, feeling warmth and hope surge through her. The universe was vast, full of unknowns, but she knew one truth with unshakable certainty. As long as they faced it together, nothing, not alien trials, not impossible dangers, not even the weight of the stars, could ever break them. The evening breeze whispered around them, soft and infinite, and stood hand in hand, hearts beating in unison, human and ordinary, yet undeniably extraordinary. And for the first time understood the true meaning of strength, courage, love, and connection. The stars above glimmered with possibilities, and in that quiet, golden moment, she knew humanity had finally proven itself. One heart, one bond, one human at a time.